So now we're going to revisit our song that was originally composed by Johann Sebastian Bach. It's Minuet in G. You have already gone through the right hand and the left hand, but let's take a look at putting both hands together. So the song we're doing in today's lesson is a Minuet in G again, but we're going to be putting our hands together. So in the last lesson you were practicing your right hand and your left hand separately. Hopefully you've got those two really confident now, which will help you now when we play this through hands together. So we're going to take it nice and slowly, counting out our rhythm bar by bar. And then eventually we'll want to get it up to 60 beats per minute. And then eventually after that we want moderato, which will be up to about 108 beats per minute, maybe even a bit faster. So starting off, we want to get our hands in the right position. So our little finger's on the D at the top in the right, and our left hand is playing that chord of G. So all we're going to do is slowly count through the rhythm with both hands and be aware of where we're going. With the fingering, I will put some suggestions in here for you, but you can just work out what you like to do because everybody's hand shapes are different. Something that feels comfortable to me might not be as comfortable to you. So let's not worry too much about dynamics and articulation for this first run through. Let's just get the melody right. So we start on the D, G chord in the left hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now that's a phrase, so that's a nice place to stop. It's a nice little phrase. It sounds good to the ear. It sounds like we've come to the end of a little bit of melody. So at this point we stop and we can go back and practice these two bars again. Okay, and then we can move on to the next bar. Bar 3, we've got the C in the right hand and we're at E. Now I would use your third finger on this E because we need to jump up to the G. So this one's going 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So those last two bars again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. And you just want to keep going over this first line a few times before you move on. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. And now we might want to start thinking about dynamics. So you've gone through it a few times and you think, right, let's have another look. I've got to remember the slur, the legato, I've got to remember the staccato, and this is going to be played medium loud. So then you try it again. Okay, so moving on to line 2. So we're on the C in the right hand, we're on the A in the left, and we're playing it piano, so nice and quietly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now at this point we're moving up to a medium loud, but you might want to practice this a little bit because these two bars are a bit more tricky. So the last two bars of line 2, we're on the D in the right hand and we're on an F sharp in our right. Now we've come from the G, and the fingering I did, I was on the G with my thumb, so I came over with my index finger for the F sharp. So it was F sharp, and then we're coming down to the B in the left and the G in the right. So just take this one nice and slowly if you're getting in a pickle. Really, really slow. Just do it note by note if you have to. So the third bar of line 2, you've got your F,
in F sharp in your right hand and your D in your left hand. So we start here, that's 1. We moved 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So that's all you need to do, and as long as you keep your notes pressed down, you can find your way. So what I mean by that, the third bar of the second line, we're on the F sharp in the right and the D in the left. So we're here, we know we're here, we know we're on that first note. This is 1 and. So we don't lift our hands, we keep them pressed down so we can see where we are. And then we're moving to note 2, where we can see in the right hand it's the G, we can see in the left hand it's the B. So we're here, 1 and, 2 and. So you're only moving the right on the and. And then we're moving, you keep your fingers here so you know where you are. We're on the third beat. So for the third beat, we're going to the G in our left and the B in our right. So 3 and then that last bar, we're moving to the B and the D. So 1 and 2 and 3 and you just need to keep going over those 2 bars until you get quicker and quicker. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a bit quicker. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and remember your dynamics. Now we've gone through it a few times. So F sharp and the D, we're medium loud, mezzo forte. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then we're on to line 3 and we're coming back to that pattern we know. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Or you might want to stop here because this last bar of line 4 there's something more going on in the right. So we've stopped where we are. We're at the beginning of the bar, beginning of the last bar, line 3. We have the G in our right hand and we have a B in our left. So we stop here and we know this is 1 and. So 1 and, we're coming down to a G in our right for 2 and we're coming up to the C. 2 and you're hitting the G again. 3 and. So then we can do those last 2 bars again. So we're on that E in our right and the C in our left. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and there'll be staccato. So let's try it again with staccato. So we're on the E, on the C in our left. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then we move on to bar 4, to line 4. So the first bar we've got a C in our right hand and this is piano, so nice and quiet, and an A in our left. So we just count through the bar slowly. In the left hand we're going from this A to an F sharp. So 1 and 2 and 3 and for the second bar we're getting a bit louder. 1 and 2 and 3 and then we've got these last 2 bars and we've got that lovely crescendo. So I'm going to hit the A with my right hand, and the C with my left. Now here, realistically, I want to be on the C with my second finger so I can come up to the D. So make sure you get your fingering so that you land on that C with your index finger. So let's take a look at this. So we're on the very beginning of line 4. We'll do our middle finger on the C. Let's do our thumb on the A. So if this left hand, I think thumb, middle finger, index finger. That's not going to work. So for this left hand, we're going to go A, F sharp, G, B, C, D, D, G, G. And that fingering works quite nicely because we want to be able to hit that D with our thumb if possible. So we want to be on this C with our index finger. So let's try this. So C in our right hand, A in our left hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 just keep going through it bar by bar, stopping where you have to, looking at what the notes are. I would print out the sheet music and write all the notes down, which will help you as you're playing along. And then once you've gone through the rhythm, you know the rhythm well and you've got the notes going well, make sure you take note of the dynamics and the articulation. And then it's just practice, practice, practice. So I am going to play this through now to a metronome so you can hear it at 60 beats per minute, but you guys just need to keep going through it slowly, just like I showed you, bar by bar, line by line, stopping whenever you get into trouble and just starting again and going slower. So let's try this now to 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and... Minuet in G with both hands at 110 beats per minute. I'll count us in. 1 and 2 and 3 and...